I'm gonna go ahead and click this button here. And we're gonna get started right away just because I wanna make sure we have the dough setting because it has to sit for about 20 minutes before we can roll it out. It's better if it sits longer, but at least 20 minutes. And that's what we're working with today. All right, guys, so if you're ready, I am going to start with 2 cups of flour in a big bowl. If you don't, you can do it on a flat surface, but I noticed with this particular recipe, it has a lot of liquid and it didn't work out the way I normally make it. So it says to use a bowl in the recipe, so we're gonna use a bowl in reality too. So yeah, oh, why can't he get in? Let this kid in, Micah, come on. All right, so we're gonna put 2 cups of flour in our bowl to start. And we're recording, guys, so if you're late or you miss anything, you could totally make this at home later with your family. 2 cups of flour. And I just have my flour in a bowl, so it's easier for me to get to it. And I'm just gonna put 2 cups in here, okay? I know we don't usually start right off, but we gotta let it rest, so it's gotta happen. All right, so we got 2 cups of flour in the bowl. I'm gonna mix in with that flour some salt. It calls for, of course, as soon as I go to look, 1.5 teaspoons of sea salt. So I have this really funny little contraption here where you get to pick a measurement. Yeah. And I'll just go 1.5 teaspoons. It says it, and now I know that that's how much will fit in there. So then I'm just gonna scoop it. I don't want too much salt, and I have pink Himalayan sea salt. Whatever you've got to work. You don't have to make any changes if all you have is table salt. It'll be fine. So I'm just going to mix that up a little bit with the thing and just kind of mix up your dry here. Now I got 2 cups of flour and 1.5 teaspoons of salt in this bowl. Now I'm going to add 3 eggs to this bowl, but inside the bowl, let me see if I can get a good shot at this. You need to make like a little well in the center of the flour, right? You just make like a little well. So there's like a big crater in the middle of your flour. And then inside of that, we're going to put 3 eggs. You get flour all over my computer. It's going to take 3 eggs. I wish I would see a little bit better. So, and just crack them right into the center of the well. And this recipe was a little bit different. So once you crack in those 3 eggs, you get rid of these shells. Then you're going to take, and you just want to mix the eggs up a little bit in the center of the well. You're not actually mixing it in with the flour. You're just going to beat the eggs inside the bowl in the center of the well. So I'm just going to break up the eggs just a little bit. A lot, actually. Get the eggs all mixed up without mixing it in with the flour. This is one of those technique things. Got to be kind of careful. Eggs are all mixed. Now I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of olive oil. 2 tablespoons of olive oil. If you have just soy oil, it'll be fine. It won't be as good, but it'll work. 2 tablespoons of olive oil. All right, so now is where your hands are going to get in there. Now you're going to take and you are going to start in the center. I want to do this. I'm going to do this double-handed here so you can really see this. You're going to start in the center and you start in the middle and you just start you're just picking up a little bit of flour from the edges as you move your hand around the center of this well. And as you come around, you'll notice it starts to pick up all the flour off the edges. This will just take a few moments and then you'll notice it'll start to kind of come together. And you're just going to keep going. And we're going to mix this all together and then knead it for about 3 minutes. You don't have to knead it very long. You see, now I'm going to need both hands. Both hands. You don't have to mix it for very long, just until it turns into dough. You don't really want to work pasta dough that much. You don't want gluten. It's not like bread where you want to knead it and beat it and be rough with it. It's not like that. But it is going to be sticky, super sticky. That's how you know it's not mixed up yet. Once it all mixes together, it's not sticky anymore. So I'm just kind of This is way easier on a flat board. I don't like this recipe because of this. It was way easier on the flat board. So as soon as I can, I'm going to dump it out onto this board here with a little bit of flour. I'm just going to put a little flour down just so it doesn't stick to my table, but this will help me kind of get this kneaded together. And you're just going to knead it just like we kneaded. What did we knead before? I don't remember. Didn't we knead something?
Play-Doh.
The Play-Doh. Yeah, I knew it. So I'm thinking, I don't remember. So then, and you can take all this, you've got nice clean hands. So you want all this dough. You want all that dough in your dough. You don't want to, that's a whole ravioli right there on my finger. So we're going to get that in there. We're just going to push it together. We only need to do this until it turns into dough. You'll know it's dough when all the flour is gone. And it will all suck up, I promise. And as I can see, I'm just kind of moving around the table, picking up all the pieces that are falling out. And it's getting there. I can tell, you can kind of see how it's turning into this, looks like pasta. And it should kind of look like raw spaghetti, kind of be the color of like raw spaghetti. Very pretty. And as soon as you're done with this, you'll want to put on some water, pot of water, just so it can get started. This is almost there. It's really kind of hard. Just going to keep going. Like I said, I got to do this for about 3 minutes, up to 5, depending on how dry or wet your dough is. It's super tricky whenever you're using flour, boys and girls, and the measurement is 1 cup or 2 cups or whatever it is. Flour doesn't work like that. You know, flour can be heavy and thick and stuck together and clumpy and hard. And 1 cup is going to be massive amount more than a nice, freshly sifted, clean, light and fluffy flour. So you should always weigh your flour if your recipe has a weight. But again, that's pretty scientific and special. So there we go. It shouldn't look super smooth. It might be a little chunky, but it should not be dry at all. And it's going to even form into more dough as it rests. So this is what we get. I'm going to wrap this in some plastic wrap, and then we're going to make the filling. I got plastic wrap around here somewhere. And so if you got some plastic wrap, you just wrap it. You can also just put it in the, leave it in the bowl and wrap the bowl, right? And put plastic over the top of the bowl. I like to do it like this. Make this nice little perfect, wonderful shape. And then if you refrigerate it, you can go overnight. But since we're going to use it right away, we're just going to set it to the side and set a timer for 15 minutes. Don't want to go too long, don't want to go too short. I'm going to wash my hands and I'm going to put a pot of water on to boil right this moment. Let me wash all this off my hands real quick. Any questions, guys? I went kind of fast.
Real quick, who's cooking this recipe along with us?
Oh yeah, who's cooking? Anybody?
Looks like Yvette is.
Me.
Right on.
I feel like.
All right, I just got all this pasta off my fingers. And then I got a little scraper. I'm gonna scrape my table here, and then we're gonna make the filling. Now, I did tell you guys the filling could be almost anything. I like a cheese filling in mine. You can chop up spinach and add it to the cheese. You can add meat or sausage. Whatever you've got, something you like. I like it with ricotta and 4 cheese. I'm gonna need these areas. Maybe All right, guys, now the filling. All right. I do not think you can put turkey mashed potatoes inside of it, but why not? Why not? Why not? So here we go. We need for the filling a bowl. Just counting my cheeses here. Now, if you don't have ricotta, cottage cheese will work fine. I've had it with cottage cheese. It's actually pretty good, but I like it with the ricotta, the textures. I just like the texture. I'm not making very much filling, guys, because it only takes a tiny amount per ravioli. I only made.
Why is there a hole in the bottom of the bowl?
Sorry?
Why is there a hole in the bottom of the bowl?
What about the bottom of the bowl?
Why is there a hole in it?
What? Oh, it's not a hole, sweetie. It's glass. You scared me. I was like, what?
My family has this. My family has the same kind of bowls, Mrs. Johnson.
Well, these are antique, so that's good to hear.
Oh yeah.
This is the only one I have like this. It's obviously been around a little while.
Yeah.
It does look like a hole. When you looked it up, I was like, yeah, why is there a hole? That's wild.
How is that going to even work? That's so funny. No, there's not a hole. Promise, it won't fall out. And it's a good bowl. I like it. So 8 ounces. This is a 15-ounce package. It's the small one in the store. So I'm going to use about half of it. It doesn't have to be that precise. This is the one good thing about this kind of meal here, guys. With the filling, you do not have to be that exact. You can put anything you want in there, really. If it's too liquidy, it won't cook right. If it's too hard and thick, it just won't be that delicious. So that is the kind of what you want to think about while you are making it, your filling. But I'm going to use 8 ounces of ricotta to start. And ricotta is it's kind of like cream cheese. I mean, it is Italian cream cheese. I actually found a recipe that had cream cheese in the filling. So if all you've got is cream cheese, that'll work good too. That is. See how it's very almost spreadable? Kind of interesting stuff. If you've never had it, it's the main ingredient in lasagna.
Someone says, can you put beef in your ravioli?
Oh yeah, but you still have to have a little ricotta or a little cheese or a little parm to kind of bind it together.
Yeah, I prefer meat raviolis, but you still, like Ms. Johnson said, you got to have that cheese in there. Otherwise, it just sort of like crumbles all over the place. That cheese holds it together.
Yeah. So you get to see some more vintage antique kitchen tools.
Those are the best kind.
The Wonder Shredder. And I'm just going to shred a little bit.
I what's that? From Swede to Swede. So what do you have to do independent weeding? Is that why? Can't hear you.
Well, because I didn't answer because I don't know what your question is, honey.
I don't feel like your question is about what Mrs. Johnson's cooking right now. I feel like your question might be better to wait until the end of class.
It's not. But
okay, I'm going to put about 3/4 cup of mozzarella. It's about the same amount of ricotta. It's pretty much about the same amount as you can see here. I'm not measuring. You can measure if you want. If you measure, probably do 1/2 cup. Parmesan cheese. Again, Ms. Johnson doesn't do much measuring. I do apologize for that. I just like to just put it in there and be like, yeah, it's good. It's about 1/4 cup. You really need to know. There was no actual recipe for the filling also. It just was like, fill it with whatever you want. So that's what you're getting from me. So I've got 3 cheeses in there, but I want 4. So I've got this special cheese, a cross between a Gouda and Parmesan cheese. And I have no idea what it's called, but I'm just going to put a little bit of this in there. Gouda is a nice melty cheese, so it'll be good.
Gouda is delicious.
Yeah, and this is called the Gouda, the Parmesan Gouda. It's like a cross between the two. I think the name is Da Vinci or something like that. It has a picture of Van Gogh on the cover. Really weird. I don't know. Why would it be? I don't know. Anyway, so I just put a little bit of that in there. Yeah. I'll put this away. You could put a little cheddar in there if you like cheddar. You can put a little sausage in there, whatever. I'm gonna put 1 egg in there too. Just 1 egg. Put 1 egg in here. You don't have to put the egg in there, but it makes the filling just kind of a little more like filling instead of just like cheese inside of a ravioli. And I like a little parsley in mine. A little parsley, just a little parsley. You can put fresh parsley, that'd be really good. I'm just gonna put a little dry parsley in there. All right, where are we at? Oh, we're perfect. So the dough is resting. So there is no hurry here. I should probably get a more appropriate sized mixing utensil for this. The sauce we're gonna make is called a brown butter sauce, but it's not really brown butter sauce. This is like a strange vegan, no, it's not vegan, just a strange vegetarian version that my ex-boss made at the restaurant. And I'm just gonna mix this together. And the brown butter, it's not really brown butter because I don't brown the butter, and it has brown sugar in it. So I don't know what brown butter is supposed to be like. This is just what I make and what I call brown butter. So as you can see, because of the ricotta, it made it really fluffy. The filling is all fluffy. That's from the egg and the ricotta. And I'm gonna add just a pinch of sea salt as well. If you like pepper, yeah, a little pepper. Just don't add very much because it's the filling, and so it will really flavor everything on your thing. Well, these are gonna be good. So it's kind of like the texture or the mixture, I can say the consistency of like deviled egg filling. You probably don't know what that is. Like, I don't know. I mean, that's really like the texture I'm getting here. It's very, very thick, but not like, see how it's kind of, yeah.
There's a question, Mrs. Johnson, about what restaurant you worked at.
Oh, Smashed Tomatoes Italian restaurant. Hence why I can make raviolis. Yeah, so my pasta is resting. Your pasta is resting. But I have some that I made earlier. So I'm gonna get that out and start rolling it so I can show you how it's done so we don't completely run out of time. I'm gonna set my filling to the side. I'm gonna put all my cheeses away real quick too. Except for the Parmesan, because I need that for the sauce later. Alrighty, so I'm just kind of do a little tidying up and then we will roll out some dough. I'm gonna show you 2 ways to roll out the dough. I'll show you the way on my little ravioli machine that I have here. Then I'll also just show you how to roll it out if you don't have fancy Mr. Ravioli machine. And we're gonna need all this space here. Roll out our dough. All right, excellent. So, did anybody ever go to Smashed Italian? No, Smashed Tomatoes Italian restaurant? No, you didn't, because we closed before you were all born. Thank you very much. Yeah, so your parents may have gone there. You most certainly did not.
It was in Stanwood. I was just looking it up. I remember I looked it up before, but not where it was. It was in Stanwood, huh?
One in Stanwood. That was not. I mean, I did work at the one in Stanwood. I opened the one in Stanwood, but our flagship was in Everett.
Oh, okay.
Monte Cristo. Stanwood was not ready for white tablecloths. And no,
Stanwood wasn't?
No. So
I would argue Stanwood's still not ready for that.
Yeah, it was a rough time. It was a rough time. We switched up. We said, okay, you don't like white tablecloths? Well, we don't need those. So we like switched our whole like what the restaurant was 2 times. Just to get them to come. They didn't come. They came and they complained and they left. So it was not fun. I didn't like it very much. Yeah. So anyway, my dough. I've unwrapped it. This is dough I made earlier about 2 hours ago. And see how different it is than when I just made it. It kind of, you can see the flour, there's these little white spots. It's where the flour is kind of, I don't know, melding with the rest. I don't know. It just kind of needs to meld together. And now we're going to just cut off a piece and run it through this little machine. It's kind of cool. It's probably going to be a nightmare, but I'm going to do it anyway. Normally it's a 2-person job. Because the machine, you know, you'd think it would just sit there like it's supposed to, but it doesn't just sit there. So here's the machine. I have it clamped down, so I can't lift it to show you, but it has these little rollers. Maybe if I come from the side, it will be better. It has these little rollers, and I will roll the dough through, and it will make it thinner. And every time I roll it through, I will bring it down a step that makes it and squeezes them together, and it gets thinner and thinner every time it goes through. So if you don't have one of these, lucky you, it's way easier to just roll it out with a rolling pin. So the trick to the machine is getting a piece of dough the width that you want it to be, because it's not going to get wider. It's just going to get longer. So if I start out with it only this wide, it's going to be like this long, like so long, but it'll only be this wide. It's going to be a really tiny ravioli. So I need to roll it out a little fatter before I run it through the machine. And I need a little flour. Just a little bit. You don't want to put too much flour in your machine. It will bind it up. It will make it so the raviolis just slide and they don't go in. There's all kinds of crazy things that happen. But the biggest thing to remember is to put it through wide ways. So put a little flour on it, and I'm going to put it through wide ways. Let's see if this works. Come all the way down to the biggest, fattest setting. It's probably not going to even go in. Oh, went in. We're still lucky. And then you grab it. And now it is a bigger circle. Then we're going to go smaller and put it in again. And again, if you just have a rolling pin, then you're just going to use a rolling pin. And you're just going to roll it out. But you need to get it super flat. And that's why we step it down here with our little machine. This dough turned out pretty good. And you know your ravioli is ready and thin enough when you can see through it. That's what the boss always said. He was kind of a slave driver. And it is getting a little wider too, so I might end up having to trim my edges a little to get it to fit through in a minute. So I'm just going to keep going. Oh, it's so perfect. So we might not go all the way down to 1. I might not want it that thin because I can already see through it. I don't know if you can see, if you could see my fingers through it. It does not need to get much thinner than that. I think that might have been the last step. It was. So that was as thin as it goes. So I'm going to bring it over here and just roll it out with a little flour and get the shape I kind of want it to be. Roll it with a little flour. Oh, look, there's your dough is ready. Your dough is ready to roll out. Just
Ms.
roll
Johnson,
it out.
if we don't have a rolling pin or a pasta maker, what could we use as a rolling pin instead?
I don't know. I've never thought of that before. A water bottle that didn't have any grooves in it, maybe?
I found a glass bottle works pretty well if you don't have a rolling pin.
I don't think I would try to do ravioli with a glass bottle because you got to push pretty hard. So yeah, but
you could also use a can. It's not going to be as big, which is the tough thing. You need to have like a really tall, like one of those family size Campbell soup cans or something like that. You just have to be careful that the grooves are in there. Just getting a rolling pin is going to be the best option. You can get those pretty cheap, even at like the dollar store. You can pick up rolling pins there too.
I think so. So I'm going to show you the cool toy, and then I'll show you the other way, because that's what we're doing is the cool toy way right now. So the cool toy way is this little thing. Now, let me tell you, if you were me and you had worked at a restaurant making raviolis with this for 5 years, you'd never want to see it again. But I'm going to show you anyway. So you need to make the sheet big enough to cover your ravioli. I did not make it big enough to cover all the way. Plus, I need a top piece too. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut this in half, and it's going to be the top and the bottom of my raviolis. Because even though the sheet has place for 10 raviolis, I don't need to make them all at once. So now I have two pieces about the same. I take this little machine. I actually paid another person to do this most of the time. I rarely had to actually be the ravioli maker. Only when Bobby didn't show up for work. So I put the two, is covering the two on the end. Take this little thing, and we set it in here to make a little dimple in the ravioli. I don't know how important this step is. So now there's just a little dimple, and I'm gonna put my filling in there. Now it's a very small amount of filling, just a teaspoon of filling. That is such a small amount. So I need to grab a nice little teaspoon. Oh, this is pretty nice filling. So I'm just gonna put a teaspoon of filling. That's probably too much. I like them a little overfilled. Just put your little filling in there. Let's see if this is gonna work, guys. I don't know. And then we're gonna put this on top. You need to cover it completely. Okay, now here's the tricky part. Now you've got to have a rolling pin for this because you're gonna roll over the top here and cut the raviolis out with the rolling pin. Here we go. And again, this is supposed to be the easy way to do it. Trust me, there's easier ways. I don't know if you can see, I'm just rolling around the edges, getting all the where it's cutting, and it's actually cutting the pasta right at the edge. If your sauce is too heavy, it's all bad. It'll just fall right through your thing and just make you just cry. But I'm going to take my cutter and cut this because I don't want to mess up. So I'm just going to cut the edge because I didn't push quite hard enough. Take off all the excess. Sad about ravioli is you really can't reuse it once you roll it out. So try to use all of it every time. Flip them over. Oh my God, they're cute. Get them off of here. Maybe should have oiled this a little. I've been sitting in my cupboard for, I don't know, 10 years. Oh my gosh, there we are. Here they are. Look at that. Ravioli. Now I can tell just by looking at it, I overfilled it. But the best thing about this method too, though, is you don't have to put any binder. The rolling pin seals it in. So we have two beautiful, these are beautiful, beautiful raviolis. Now I'm going to show you the way to do it without special machine. And I'm going to set these over by my pot of water and turn the pot of water on. Let me show you how to do this if you don't have a billion gadgets left over from a restaurant. All right, so this is actually, it's pretty simple. You're just gonna roll out a little piece as thin as you can get it, and then you cut out ravioli shapes and fill them with filling. So the only difference is you do need to have a little binder. You need to have a little egg on the edges when you do it this way. And you need a little flour so that it doesn't stick to your rolling pin. And I'm gonna get rid of as you can see, it's kind of really, I don't know, preference. If you want to use the machine to roll it through or just get it nice and thin. The trick is don't overwork this dough. You don't want to get it all worked up. That's why you can't reuse it once you've rolled it out. It makes it really tough. If you just roll it out once, it'll be nice and delicate and all delicious. And so I did turn my water on so that I can boil those and show you the quick sauce. Let me just get this nice and thin. So you want it super thin as you can humanly get it. And it does take a little bit of elbow grease to get it thin enough, but do be careful that you don't stick also to your table. It's a little different than pie. You are going to roll off the edge. Cookies, you're not supposed to do that, but you want to roll all the air out. You don't want any air bubbles. So you're just going to roll it all the way off. It'll make it a little thinner too on the edges. Yeah, this is pretty thin. Let's hold it up and see. You see your hand through it? Nope, not quite. Definitely.
Why do multiple children in this class think that animals are humans?
Joey, I don't know. It boggles my mind as well.
I was watching Epwood videos
I know,
because I can't make ravioli.
Okay, sweetie, hold on though. Remember, those are opinions. Everybody's allowed their opinion. There we go. You can see my hand right through it. That means it's thin enough. So now we're just going to cut out some shapes. I'm going to use this big circle cutter that I have. You can use any shape you want. Just know the more edges you're gonna have to bind up later. So a circle is a nice one. Oh man, a circle that's sharp, really? Obviously, this is a biscuit cutter, not a pasta cutter. I do have a pasta stamp too, but I don't know where I put it. So get a sharper cutter than Miss Johnson, and you can just cut it out any shape you want with the cutter too. Lame. Miss Johnson is lame. So there we go. We got it cut. Two nice little circles. I'm just going to show you one for the essence of time here. So we have these nice little circles. We'll put this to the side. Two little circles. We're going to just put a little teaspoon. Make sure it is a teaspoon right in the middle. Because you see how small that is and how much space it takes up. And then it said egg wash on the edges. I'm just going to use a little water. I know that'll work fine. You're just going to put a little water on the edge, and this will just hold it together and keep it from leaking all over your pan and your boiling water and everything else. Take the top, you put it on here, and there's a couple different ways you can seal it. You can just press it, or you can take a curly cutter and cut along the edges, and it will kind of press it all together. I can hear my water boiling. Ravioli. I think in the recipe I sent you, I put they use like a can lid to cut them out. Like it doesn't really matter. And as you can see, it's not perfect. It don't need to be perfect, but you do not want too much air in there. Okay, so my water's boiling. Here's the other cool thing about this. They only cook for like 2 minutes. You don't need to cook fresh pasta very long at all. So you need your water boiling, and you've got to salt your pasta water. But if you do not salt it until it is boiling. See, it's boiling. Now I'm going to add some salt. Quite a bit of salt, honestly. Like a tablespoon and a half. It may seem like too much, but you want lots of salt in your pasta water. So I'm going to move this so you can see what's going on. And we're just going to slide these into a nice rolling boil. They're only going to cook for, gosh, it's like 2 minutes. You're just going to watch them. And what will happen is the color changes to a very cooked color. And I'm going to turn on my other pan while those are boiling, because I'm pretty much going to go right from here into my saucepan. My other pan has a tablespoon of butter and a little bit of olive oil. Those, I'm watching them and they're almost done. I can tell by looking at them, they're almost done. Make sure that they're flipping, they're cooking on both. Oh, this is good dough. You can use different kinds of flour. Also, at the restaurant, we always use semolina flour. This is just all-purpose flour. And you can make the dessert raviolis are really good with this all-purpose flour recipe. And then you just put cream cheese and jam inside.
Nice. That sounds amazing.
It's really good. And then all you do is like cook them in like fried butter. You just fry them in butter when they come out of the pasta. You can put chocolate powder in the flour, and then they're chocolate raviolis with raspberry cream cheese filling. Yeah, and those you just want to like fry them. And you can take fresh pasta and put it right in the fryer. You don't really have to boil it like this, but I like the texture. And I like that it cooks the filling too when you boil it. So I can tell it's almost done. You want it to be pretty much white all the way through. What have they been in there? Like a minute and a half? Takes about 2 up to 3 minutes. This is, I can tell that the round one is thicker and it's going to take a little longer. And the square ones are almost done. And you can see I only put the 3 raviolis in there. You could maybe only put like maybe 2 more and it'd be too many for this pot because I made pretty big raviolis. That ravioli maker that I showed you was the one we never used at the restaurant because my boss was like, you can't serve people raviolis that big, we'll go out of business. Swear to God. So he had to buy this little tiny one. And we made butternut squash raviolis at the restaurant.
Butternut squash ravioli is delicious.
That was the only one we made. There was a lobster one I did for a special once or twice, and that was it. We didn't do fresh pasta really. It's way too expensive and hard to do. So what do you think? It's been 3 minutes. I don't want to undercook them either. Undercooked raviolis would be gross. Oh my gosh, they're all pillowy and delicious, and my butter is all melted. So I'm going to take them right out of here and put them right into this heating butter. Almost there. These is my favorite way to do them in the fried butter. It's like a butter and brown sugar, and then you put Parmesan cheese all over the top of it. And it's really just a really gross and delicious thing. Like, I don't know if kids would like it or not. Yeah. So I think this one's ready. You can see it's really white. So that means it's probably ready. So I'll just put it right in here. And my pan could be a little hotter. That's okay. This one's going to take a second. So far, they're not breaking. Feeling pretty good about that.
They're looking pretty good.
They're not breaking. So you could leave the brown sugar out and just butter and then cheese. It's still delicious, but it is cheese ravioli already. So, I mean, it might be a little heavy. Gosh, that one's just not ready yet.
It's a big one.
Yeah, maybe it's because I rolled it out, so it's a little thicker.
Yeah.
And the machine definitely gets it paper thin. Thanks for hanging in, guys. I know it took a little bit longer. I knew this was going to be tight on time, but we did record, so no worries.
Mhm.
And the recipe is really, really clear too. The link to the recipe has got really good directions. Okay, so now I am just going to move you a little closer, get this out of here. And you can kind of see this burner sucks for frying. That's why I'm using this burner. This burner is only good for
Miss Johnson,
Yes, sir.
it's time to leave.
Well, sweetie, you can
Hold on,
hang
buddy.
out here. Well, what do you got to do?
It's time to leave when we dismiss you.
Oh, wow. Middle school action. I almost forgot.
I thought it was time to leave when, and
No, unfortunately, you're not actually done with school until 3:15. So like I said, you're done when we actually dismiss you. So that's why you hang out. We're almost done with the recipe. We'll be super, super close. And then you don't even have specialists starting for another 4 minutes. So you are good, man.
I do apologize. My clock is a little slow, so that I do apologize. I thought I had a few more minutes. So you're just gonna brown these. And I threw some garlic in there because I forgot garlic's delicious, especially with cheese and sugar. Like, I don't know why. And you're just gonna brown them on both sides and then take it off the heat and throw a bunch of brown sugar in there. And then cover it in Parmesan cheese and eat it. You're not gonna get to see me take a bite because it's gonna take too long to finish. I'm sorry. Well, Mr. Firmer, Miss Alban will get to see, but the rest of you guys will be late to specialists. So, oh, look, it's getting nice and brown already. You want it to get that nice brown. Oh my gosh, it smells so good. So once it's nice and brown, we just take it off the heat, throw in about a couple tablespoons of brown sugar. Take it off the heat. Now I gotta put this down. I'm gonna melt my Chromebook if I'm not careful.
Don't do that.
Well, that would be hilarious. It'd be like, so I'm gonna need another one of those Chromebooks. Oh man, that brown sugar got on my burner. That's so good. It's okay, it's not on anymore. So the brown sugar just goes in and you just kind of mix it up. And you gotta have all kinds of mad restaurant skills to do this over 2 hot burners. And then you see it doesn't get super mixed. It's just till the brown sugar dissolves. Oh my gosh, this looks so good. And you're gonna like, this looks so nice. And then you're gonna take it smells exactly like it does when I make it at the restaurant, you guys. So then you're gonna put it on here. And you're gonna take your Parmesan. It's better if you have the grated where you can like the fresh. All I have is the kind of powdery kind, but it'll work. The shredded is a little better, personally. Asiago is also really good. So there you go. This is brown butter fried ravioli, smashed tomatoes style. And
Nice.
yes, you will get to see me take a bite. I've got to do it. Hey, look at that. Look at that. Look at the fillings all nice. Hot. got it. All right. I still know how to do my job. That's pretty cool. That's really good. Thank you so much for hanging out, you guys. I really appreciate it.
Alrighty, guys, have a wonderful afternoon.